हेलो एंड वेलकम टू अनदर एपिसोड ऑफ देसी फायर पॉडकास्ट। आज मेरे साथ है एक ओल्ड फ्रेंड ऑफ माइन शौगतो और मैं ट्विटर पे काफ़ी बातचीत करते रहते हैं, बट द रीज़न दैट ही इज़ हियर इज़ टू help me and hopefully some of our viewers with how to handle your portfolio or how to handle a crisis with your fire portfolio now. Stock markets are going through a bit of a turmoil, and let's see how Shogato will be able to help us now. Shogato has been running his company CashRich for close to 8 years now. Prior to that, he worked at Tata Steel, and at Tata Steel, what exactly did you do at Tata Steel?
I was managing their treasury investments as well as provident fund, gratuity, superannuation funds, etc. Almost 12,000 crores of asset under management, the amount of money I was
अच्छा, तो
managing.
ये जो 12,000 करोड़ के आसपास पैसा था, ये तुम क्या मतलब कुछ मैंडेट होता था क्या, इतना इक्विटी में लगाना है, इतना इसमें
Yes,
करना है,
yes.
and
So
all
there
that?
is a investment policy that you have to follow. So whatever is from the treasury investment side, that will go into like liquid fund, debt fund. It won't be going into any high risk category.
ठीक है.
On the provident fund side, you can invest in equities also, but there is a limit. You cannot do too much, and also buy bonds, etc. So overall, more fixed income and less equity.
अच्छा, तो मतलब 12,000 करोड़ के अंदर अगर हम लोग बात करें तो इक्विटी का पोर्शन 1-1,500 करोड़ के आसपास रहता
हाँ,
होगा.
उससे कम भी हो सकता है इनिशियली एंड देन
उससे
इट विल
कम
ग्रो.
भी.
हाँ, हाँ.
मतलब 10,000 करोड़ जो है वो पूरा अपना
Yes,
फिक्स
yes.
इनकम में.
Mostly debt side में ही जाएगा ज़्यादा.
Fair. Can you tell us a little bit about how did you manage this part? See, taking VC money is one route.
Right.
Taking पापा का money is another route, but I'm assuming वो तो था नहीं
Right,
कंपनी
right, right.
चलाने लायक. The third is कि अच्छा हाँ, you have another one business which is funding the other business.
See, like something similar to your goal of fire, I also wanted to have a good outcome in terms of financially the outcome is good, but also I don't want to go back to a corporate job. So that is the biggest threat, right? You try to do a business very fast and try to grow very fast, and then suddenly something goes wrong, then you're searching for job. So that was the biggest fear.
नौकरी नहीं करनी पड़ जाए. मैं 100% भाई, इंडिया के अंदर नौकरी करनी पड़ जाती है ना, तो अपने आप में एक कलेश हो जाता है उससे.
यस, यस. अगेन वो ट्रैफिक, फिर रोज जाओ, पंच इन पंच आउट, मतलब वो लीव अप्लाई करना पड़ेगा, लाइक सिंस लीविंग द कॉर्पोरेट लाइफ, मैंने अभी तक एक भी बोरिंग मीटिंग अटेंड नहीं किया है, बिकॉज I can choose which meeting to attend, right? If the meeting is going to be boring, I will not attend. So
Fair.
that was very important, that how do you have your freedom. So my initial thought process was that I don't want to dilute the equity so much that I am the minority shareholder. So that was always in the back of mind, that इसको जब तक सस्टेनेबल एंड प्रॉफिटेबल नहीं कर पाते हैं, तब तक हमको मेजोरिटी कैसे मेंटेन किया जाए. ओके, सो आई नेवर पिच टू एनी इंडियन वीसी एक्सेट्रा. And the other point was that you could build a profitable business. You need some initial hand holding from angels and all, but uske baad you can run the business in some way that overall things are working fine. And one very important thing I noticed at that time, there were a lot of fintech founders who were either only from finance background, not much tech background. तो उसमें problem ये होता था, some service provider or somebody will come and sell them very high cost tech services. So again, business में issues है. Or you are only focusing on the tech side of it and not the financial research. Again, there you will probably not deliver the best outcome.
वो तो हाँ, वो मार्केट अपॉर्चुनिटी की
Yes,
बात
yes.
हो गई ना. मतलब
Yes, yes.
सी, वंस यू हैव द फिगर्ड आउट कि हाँ भैया नौकरी नहीं करनी है, तो उसके बाद तुम सोचोगे कि क्या ऑप्शन है. एक ऑप्शन है कि भैया कुछ नहीं करना है, घर बैठ जाओ मेरे जैसे. एक ऑप्शन है कि नहीं, मैं ऐसा काम कर लेता हूँ जिसमें कि एक अपॉर्चुनिटी, एंड दैट अपॉर्चुनिटी वाज डेफिनेटली देयर.
Yes.
सो ब्रीफली कैन यू टेल मी अ लिटिल बिट अबाउट ये जो तुम्हारा सर्विसेज वाला बिजनेस है, हु आर यू सेलिंग टू, हु योर क्लाइंट्स आर, व्हाट यू डू इन दैट, एंड ये जो तुम्हारा कैश रिच वाला B2C वाला बिजनेस है, who are your clients, what do you do in that, and both of these
Services
businesses.
is very simple. It's like you have certain foreign companies as client and you sell them some services. And on the B2C side, it is basically we have created this simple investment app called CashRich. Anybody can download and then they can create their investment account. And the unique features that we have there is something called dynamic SIP. So what we do is when markets are typically on the higher valuation side, then you invest less proportion in equity and when markets are down, then you can invest more in equity. Also, the amount accumulated in the debt side, you can switch to equity at that point, which really helped during that COVID crash. And also, we have set something called investment triggers. So often when we speak to our customers, like they say, we will not invest now, we will invest when market falls or when gold prices fall by 10%. But whenever it falls also, they don't invest. People don't have time, or they will not track the market or the prices, right? So here it is like an if else rule. You set the rule, and when it gets triggered, then you can easily invest.
मेरा अभी एक फायर पोर्टफोलियो है, और मैं यूजर्स को बहुत बार प्रॉमिस कर चुका हूँ कि हाँ मैं उसका एक अपडेट डालने वाला हूँ, साल भर के आसपास हो गया है, बट इट्स मेरे को जो एसेट एलोकेशन उचित लगता है वो मैंने उसके अंदर रखा हुआ है, जिसके अंदर मोटा मोटी आई थिंक 3-4 साल का कैश है, 2-3 साल का कैश है, आई डोंट रिमेम्बर द एग्जैक्ट नंबर। फिर एक वो अपॉर्चुनिटी फंड वगैरह बना के रखा हुआ है, और यही एसेट एलोकेशन वाले ही खेल में खेलने की कोशिश करता हूँ, बट आई एम नॉट एबल टू डू इट, टू बी
Okay.
रियली ऑनेस्ट। थोड़ा बहुत कर लेता हूँ, मतलब थोड़ा बहुत से मेरा मतलब 3% इधर शिफ्ट हो गया, 4% उधर शिफ्ट हो गया, जहां वो 5% एक बार में शिफ्ट करना पड़ता है, वहां आई एम हाथ कांपने लग जाते हैं, और आई एम नॉट एबल टू डू इट। तो ऐसी सिचुएशन कि भाई ऑटोमेट हो जाए, अपने आप इन्वेस्ट हो जाए, दैट वर्क्स
Right.
एब्सोल्युटली। सो इज देयर समथिंग दैट यू कैन सजेस्ट कि ये जो फायर वाली जनता है, मार्केट्स आर, एक तो मार्केट उतना ऑनेस्टली स्पीकिंग गिरा नहीं है जितना
नहीं,
हल्ला मच गया है,
मार्केट निफ्टी तो लाइक,
मतलब 12-13%, 15%
नहीं
कुछ।
नहीं, 6% टाइप गिरा है इन लास्ट 6 मंथ्स, और लास्ट मंथ कुछ 2% टाइप से, मैंने नथिंग।
अच्छा नहीं, फ्रॉम पीक आई बिलीव 12-13% डाउन है, बट
नो, नॉट निफ्टी, निफ्टी मिड कैप एंड स्मॉल कैप, यस, नॉट निफ्टी।
अच्छा, आई आई डोंट हैव द नंबर्स, मेरे
या,
को इतना पता है कि भाई लोग ने रोना तो चालू कर दिया है ना।
नहीं, अभी कुछ क्रैश हुआ ही नहीं है।
हाँ, अभी भाई अभी तो पिक्चर जो है वो बाकी है।
हाँ,
सो ए फर्स्ट ऑफ ऑल व्हाट डू यू थिंक, जो पिक्चर बाकी है, how do you see this entire story playing out over the next year or so, and then B, कि भाई if what you are saying is what you are assuming, how do I prepare myself यार, मेरे तो पोर्टफोलियो का भट्टा बैठ जाएगा अगर पूरा
नहीं,
कुछ
सो
नहीं होगा तो।
हमको थोड़ा स्टेप बैक करना होगा, ठीक है? सो आई विल टेल यू हाउ थिंग्स हैव पैन्ड आउट एंड हाउ आई हैव डन दिस एंड आई थिंक। उससे पहले ना एक डिस्क्लेमर दे देता हूँ, बिकॉज़ वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट। सो फर्स्ट ऑफ ऑल, आई एम नॉट ट्राइंग टू सेल एनीथिंग, neither I am selling a course nor a fund nor any of my product. This is purely academic reason because of Ravi's curiosity. Otherwise I don't want to actually say कि ये करो वो करो, because what I'm going to talk next about hedging etc is very dangerous, and hence please do not try it at home. And I'm only going to say all these things because I do it for myself, I don't do it for anybody, and please don't try it. So ये है disclaimer, ठीक
Fair,
है? So
go
now
ahead।
now I'll give you the background. So background was this, that during COVID, not only did the entire portfolio, like my own personal portfolio, go down some multiple double digit lakhs में, सब negative everywhere, like it was really bad. So that was the first problem. Second problem was that when I view at the like CashRich users, their portfolio, they were also down, and I always believe that the sum of their portfolio is my company's portfolio. Hence that is something I also need to be very careful about, because when I look at asset allocation, it's not only my asset allocation, I look at my company's asset allocation, which is equal to the sum of the client's asset allocation, तो वो भी ठीक रखना चाहिए. So anyway, so with that thought, what happened was that if something goes wrong again, 2020 we could not do much, but another 10 years from today something big can happen, and generally in 5-10 years some big events keep happening. If again such a big problem happens, then what will I do? Will I again wait for a few years for things to recover, or just pray to god, or is there any financial strategy available? So that is the point where this research started, that how to do something so that during such crashes we can save ourselves. Otherwise it is only at the mercy of markets, and then this time we were lucky, within a year the market recovered, but there have been occasions in history when it can take 5 years, 10 years for the market to come back to the peak. So it is not like abnormal that things will take a long time to recover. It has happened earlier. This last crash was a very easy crash in that way, that things recovered very fast. Now with that thought, my experiment and research started. So I kept learning how to do, and I started doing a lot of experiments and started losing money in some of these experiments. But anyway, it was a good thing. I also did some work with Nicholas Nassim Taleb, who has written this book called Black Swan, Anti-Fragile, etc. So he also has written a lot of stuff about how to manage your portfolio during such
तुम बड़ा
crashes.
आदमी है, तुमको नेम ड्रॉप करने की जरूरत नहीं है कि तुम
No, no, no,
तालिब
it's
को जानता है और वो सब.
नहीं, इट्स नॉट नेम ड्रॉप, इट्स इंपॉर्टेंट बिकॉज उसने ये सब लिखा हुआ है उसके बुक में. द प्रॉब्लम इज वो बुक पढ़ के समझ में नहीं आता. सो देयर वाज लॉट ऑफ डाउट्स व्हिच आई हैड, व्हिच आई गॉट क्लैरिफाइड बाय हिम. सो देन व्हाट हैपेंड वाज, in US they have hedge funds who are able to protect the portfolio during crashes. Even he has, he advises a hedge fund which did well during COVID. But in India we don't have any such option. Like, you cannot just go and buy something off the shelf. That is first problem. Second, in US the theory and whatever products they have, the same thing we don't have. And as a retail investor, like, I will not have access to such things. So how can I then create a portfolio insurance such that I can protect myself during such crashes? That was the overall problem statement. Now, the solution is that it can be done. However, one has to put a lot of time, effort, and patience to understand the theory and then be convinced कि हमको करना है. ठीक है. So one experiment, maybe I'll ask you first, and then we'll see, what is your answer to that. Suppose you forget your traditional asset allocation, okay, and you put 98% of your money in equity.
Okay.
Okay, maybe an index fund or something. You just put 98%, and only 2% you put in this portfolio insurance concept, where your money will go down the drain most of the time. Expected value is zero. But if a large crash happens, then that insurance will protect your portfolio. So whatever mark to market loss you will have, that much value will come back. Okay, so 1 crore portfolio goes to 80 lakhs, that 2% would give you the 20 lakhs, and hence you are at 1 crore. Okay, if you do that, and you don't have real estate, gold, and other things, no debt and all that, and you have 3 crore as your starting amount,
Okay.
and you're in the 30% tax bracket, and then after 30 years, how much will you have in the current situation where you're mixing many things and having a traditional asset allocation, versus how much will you have in this other thing which I told, and what will be the difference in wealth?
Okay. So let's try and do these numbers. Let's
Yeah, we
say,
will approximate numbers.
obviously, भाई मैं अभी अगर 3 करोड़ पे हूँ, मैं ट्रेडिशनल रूट की बात करता हूँ, और हम लोग 30 साल के पीरियड की बात कर रहे हैं.
Yeah,
अब मैं 30 साल के पीरियड की बात कर रहा हूँ, तो मैं ऑन एन 98% तुम्हारा इक्विटी पोर्टफोलियो है, विद इंश्योरेंस और विदाउट इंश्योरेंस. तुम्हारे 100% तुम्हारा 3 करोड़ वाला जो है वो सारा का सारा इक्विटी में लगा हुआ है. आई वुड एक्सपेक्ट इट टू डबल probably every 5 to 6 years is what my estimate would be.
yeah.
5 पे मतलब 14% और 6 पे मतलब 12%. तो 30 साल के अंदर जो है ये तकरीबन, अगर मैं 6 भी पकड़ूं तो 2 to the power 5 32 गुना हो जाता, और कभी कभी ये 5 भी होगा, तो मैं इसको 35 गुना पकड़ लेता हूँ, या 33 गुना पकड़ लेता हूँ. 3 करोड़ से 100 करोड़ के आसपास,
Around 100 crores.
around 100 crores
Correct.
is what's going to be. Now, getting that 2 crore, the 2 lakh insurance part, my base, which is doubling, that instead of 100 has become 98.
Yeah.
So that 98 would definitely, also become 33 times. But this would have protected me in the crashes. Now, let's say there are going to be 3 crashes which will be more than 30-40% in a
Yes,
period of
in your lifetime, which can really change your fire portfolio.
fire portfolio. Yeah. उन 3 से बचाना है. अब वो 10% का तो वो तो यार हर साल कुछ ना कुछ जो है ना बकर चलती रहेगी.
उसको नहीं हेज कर सकते हैं, उसको करेंगे तो हेज विल बिकम वेरी कॉस्टली, व्हिच वी शुड नॉट डू. वो कॉस्ट इफेक्टिव हेजिंग करना है.
हाँ, तो कॉस्ट इफेक्टिव 30% अगर तुम पकड़ के चल रहा है तो 3 बार ही होगा. आई डोंट रियली नो हाउ मच ऑफ अ डिफरेंस इट्स.
No, so the other one, because of your real estate debt ka tax, all these other things, and then you're frequently moving around things, trying to time the market and all, that will generally not give you,
100 crores.
no, it will give you much less. It will probably be 15-20 crores because of all these effects.
Okay.
If you want, I can share some Excel sheets with you. You can
नहीं,
check.
fair,
But
I'll take your...
yeah, now so 100 और एक 20 भी मान लेते तो भी तो 80 का डिफरेंस हो गया.
हाँ, नहीं भाई, क्योंकि अगर तुम एक वो डाइवर्सिफाइड पोर्टफोलियो की बात कर रहे हो तो मैं 12-14 नहीं पकड़ूंगा, तो मैं प्रॉब्ली 8 या 9 पकड़ूंगा. जहां वो 8 या 9 किया, ये अपना 8 साल हो गया या 9 साल हो गया 72 वाला करके, तो
राइट, राइट, राइट.
10 साल में तुम बात कर रहे हो तो 8 गुना, तो 3 का तुम 25 करोड़ के आसपास पहुंचेगा, फेयर
Yes.
इनफ।
Now see,
हाँ।
now why I wanted to explain that difference, because post 2020 certain things in the global economy have changed, and mostly what has changed is central banks have realized that they can print money. So कोई भी problem है, you just print money, okay, which means they will keep creating inflation, which also means that apart from equity, it's very difficult for any other asset class to keep up with that inflation post taxes and all. Hence every other portfolio will underperform, okay, and equity will have its volatility, but inflation hedging can only be done through that. Maybe gold in India's case, but not in USD terms anyway. Then अगर हमको इक्विटी को एटलीस्ट नॉट 90% just theoretical, but at least you will try to maximize it, maybe 60, 70, 80%, whatever somebody can do. But then if you do too much of equity, then at the back of the mind always it will be there that, like next week, I don't know, there is a new income tax bill which is going to come. Maybe they will suddenly say that capital gains tax will go to 20% or 30%, who knows. Now if that happens, the market will again go down suddenly, or maybe Trump will say something about tariffs on Monday or Tuesday, again market might go down. So because none of these factors we can predict, there is no point in predicting and worrying, okay. So hedging a part of that equity portfolio properly is what will give you a peace of mind. That is the first effect of it. Now the second, historical data analysis which I have done is that if somebody had put around 25,000 in such a, hedging structure during say February 2020, towards the end of, the month or third week of that month, guess how much would that turn into in by the end of March?
नो आइडिया हाउ हेजिंग वर्क्स। मेरा अगला क्वेश्चन तो ये होगा कि तुम बोल रहे 25,000, 25,000 को लगाना कैसे, कौन से बटन दबाने हैं?
हाँ हाँ,
वी विल गेट टू दैट।
that will come to. So generally you'll buy, it will be done through FNO. So FNO in general is done for short term trading, and people want to make money. I am not at all advising that, and I think usme you will always lose money only. This I am talking about is creating an insurance structure like a term insurance, that you pay some premium, nothing happens to you, the money goes, but if something really bad happens, then you get, 8,000 ka 1 crore outcome, right? So something like that. So that 25,000 during COVID crash could have easily gone to 60, 70 lakhs, or even once year, depends on how you have, managed your behavior and the portfolio at that time without touching it, okay. So that sort of high payoff would have come if somebody had done that portfolio insurance correctly. Now, uh, to explain the benefits further for this particular structure, apart from the fact we saw that the wealth difference is too much, if for example you decide that you will keep timing the market in your traditional asset allocation, so let us say the traditional asset allocation is 60/40, or 60 days 40 days, or 30 days 10 days, that kind of a traditional asset allocation, and I'm talking about a new asset allocation which mostly people are not following, but is the ideal asset allocation for a optimal result in today's environment. Now, in the traditional asset allocation, which is the 60/40 or 60/30/10, something like that, you have to keep changing by buying, selling,
करेक्ट।
right? With all these capital gains taxes and other things going up, it will become more inefficient. In the one I told, we are not selling, so there is no capital gains tax. In fact, the losses in your hedging you can offset in your other taxes. So, what will happen is that when that big crash event happens, then your insurance will give you a payoff, which is a positive cash flow at a time of a crisis. You take that money and you buy more stocks, and this has happened with me practically during, the election date. I had done enough of insurance, and it was a very good day, because at one point market was 8% down and the hedges were doing very well. I could take that money, buy more stocks, and also mentally it feels good because you're making money when everybody is losing money at that time. Also, uh, from a basic probability standpoint, like up to cat ka coaching, your maths is good, but anyway we'll keep it to basic maths and not get into calculus, but basic maths में भी जाते हैं. So you decide कि you had bought something at 100 rupees, it has gone to say 140, and you have 40 rupees gain, and you are thinking that अभी मैं इसको बेचूं या नहीं, like whether to sell at 140 or keep holding. Okay, but then we as traders, in some way we think that we will sell at 140, it will go down to 120 or 110 and we'll buy it back again. Okay, and often what happens is वो 140 का 240 हो जाता है. Okay, or it temporarily goes down, but we are not able to buy. Now why these things happen is that you have to evaluate everything from a probability standpoint. So what are the two actions, and let us assume fair probability in this case, like 50-50 types. So when I am timing and saying ki I will sell at 140, that outcome can be right or wrong. Both are 50-50 probability. Okay, that is my first decision point. Second decision point is to again reinvest that money. Right? So second decision point, again I can be right or wrong. When I combine that and do the probability is 0.5 into 0.5, is 0.25, which means this particular action in general has a 25% probability of my win. So odds are anyway stacked against me. So if I keep doing it, what will happen if I do it once? Then maybe I might be lucky. But when you do the same action again and again and again and again, suppose you repeat this action 100 times, then every time you are doing, there is this 0.25 into 0.25 kind of calculation. If you do it 100 times, it is impossible that you will be right all the 100 times. That probability is zero mathematically also. So if you continuously try to time, it will not work. Only reason or only time you can do such a thing is if you have an edge. Again, edge in probability concept is that you think that you have some information or have some sort of an insight where the probability is tilted against, tilted for you, you have an advantage. That is the time, because of your edge, you will take such a decision, but that will be maybe 2-3 times a year max. You cannot have edge every day. Okay, and I have seen people losing more money from opportunity costs than the actual losses. Like people have sold things very early, then things have gone up, or they have not been able to reinvest their capital. So those are big mistakes which kind of have a very detrimental effect on your portfolio. So to avoid all these things, when you are feeling jittery and feeling ki kuch gadbad hone wala hai, okay, you're thinking that a major event is coming, like budget or election or something like that, or you have some insight that COVID pandemic is coming and hence things will be bad, you have that insight, you increase your insurance. In that case, what can happen is, suppose you have spent 30,000 for this insurance thing, and this insurance thing is basically for someone who has at least 1 CR of equity. Otherwise for 5-10 lakhs it will not make sense. At least
we are talking about fire portfolios
yes,
here,
yes,
so much bigger number.
exactly.
Yes.
So minimum 1 CR equity, then you think about this concept, otherwise it will not make sense. Now for 1 CR equity, if I am putting 30,000 rupees in that particular period, maybe it is 2 months or so, or 1 month also, depends on the size of the portfolio, how you are structuring the hedge. And if you are wrong, okay, the market doesn't fall, what will happen is your underlying 1 crore will grow. Say it grows by 5%, so it is anyway giving you 5 lakh extra, right? However, if it goes down and actually the hedges start paying off, then also you're kind of in a good place. On the other hand, suppose I start thinking again like a traditional asset allocation model, I will think that I will need to sell equity and I will need to go to bonds and wait and then try buying. As usual, I said that probability is against you. The other problem is, to make a meaningful impact for a 1 crore portfolio, I will need to at least sell 30-40 lakhs or 20 lakhs. I have to sell a meaningful chunk. Otherwise, only selling 5 lakh is not timing. Okay, so if I have to sell a meaningful chunk of my portfolio, I will immediately trigger certain long term or even short term capital gains, depends on how when you have invested what you're selling. That capital gains I have calculated is often much more than my hedging cost. Okay, so anyway, the initial action of timing, which was 0.5 into probability of win plus 0.5, that 50-50 chance,
another win.
Yeah, so that anyway, the expected value of that entire exercise was zero or negative after taxes and transaction costs. So the activity which is negative, we should not do. It's not a theory which I have invented. It is a normal probability, basic maths. And what you do once, if you keep repeating, that same exercise, the probability will change. Doing something once versus doing it repeatedly are two different calculations. And there the calculation is very clear that if you keep timing for a long period of time, there will be many times you will be very much wrong, and that will have a very detrimental effect.
Fair. So the entire argument essentially seems to be कि भाई तुम ए टाइम करना मुश्किल है, एक बार कर लिया, दो बार कर लिया, हर बार नहीं कर पाओगे, और जब नहीं कर पाओगे तो जितना बड़ा धक्का लगेगा उससे जो तुम्हारे फायदे हुए हैं they'll get
Yes,
nullified, and
they'll
that's
also.
why you should spend some money on this insurance aspect.
Yeah, and on the timing side, only one thing which we can do, or I mean we can try doing, is timing to buy only the buy portion of it. So for example, if market during COVID crash was at 26,500 March 23rd, and within 1.5 years it was at around 62,000 Sensex level on in October 2021, if I remember that so correctly. So some same product, which is the Sensex, it was 26,500 and 62,000. It's within 1.5 years. There you can see a lot of valuation parameters, or intuitively understand one is expensive, one is cheap. So if you're buying something when something is cheaper, your probability of success is higher. It is not that 26 ka 24 or 20 nahi hota. That's not the point. Point is your probability is higher, but on the 62 your probability is lower. वहां से 62 से 80 जा सकता है immediately, but we don't know.
Fair.
So the point is you can time the buying portion of it, buy more when things are down, but don't think about selling, at least in the context of fire portfolio, because that's where you want to optimize the portfolio.
Fair. तो ए एक तो बाइंग वाइंग पे तो अभी आएंगे because that's something that I would want to know for myself. अभी let's say if I buy your argument और मेरा जो है वो suppose my equity exposure right now stands at 5 crore rupees, तो मेरे को इसको effectively hedge करने में ए कितना खर्चा होगा, और बी कैसे मैं एक्चुअली करूंगा, कौन से बटन जाके मेरे को कहाँ पे दबाने हैं. Let's say we are talking right now, let's say today आज मेरा ये है तो मैं क्या करूँ.
So what I was saying, that there'll be that initial disclaimer that do not try this at home, because unless you really understand the entire F&O market, you understand options theory, you just can't go and buy and put option or something, or start doing some sort of structure and then lose more money than what you were supposed to make. So what I will suggest is that initially, first maybe 6 months or 1 year, just do some paper trading. Don't put real money. See how to utilize this concept by understanding the basics of options, especially put options, etc., and then see how you can minimize the cost, because ideally there should be a risk budget that you have. Suppose the risk budget could be 1 to 2% of your equity portfolio, and
Okay.
then you decide that okay, every month out of that risk budget I'll be having a base kind of insurance anyway. Okay, and then there will be times when you have some insight, or a event risk is there, then you increase the insurance component. It's like what you do in health insurance. There is a base policy and then you have a super top up. Okay, and another important concept, which it's very difficult for me to explain in a few minutes, but it's called Kelly criterion. So you can google that, you can try to understand how it works. So through that process you can decide how to buy the options as they progress. There is a way to do it, and there is a way to stop the losses, etc. So it's
भाई
a
हमको कुछ समझ नहीं आ रहा है, मतलब मेरे को ढेला नहीं समझ में आया. तुम अभी ये क्या बोल रहे हैं, तुम एकदम बेसिक से बात कर. भाई 5 करोड़ रुपया है तो मेरे को कितने का खरीदना है, 10 लाख रुपए का इंश्योरेंस खरीदना है.
that is the max budget, but often I have seen कि हमेशा मार्केट तो ऊपर नीचे करते रहता है, there is some volatility. So what will happen sometimes is you will also get a positive payoff. जैसे लास्ट 2-3 महीना में I am not spending on the insurance because the whatever insurance was there, it is giving positive payoff because markets are down.
You need to go back to the basics. 5 करोड़ रुपया है, मैंने 5 लाख रुपया निकाला.
Yes.
अब मैं 5 लाख रुपए का क्या करूं?
नहीं, so what you have to do is, जैसे आपने सपोज आपका पोर्टफोलियो देखना पड़ेगा हमको, ठीक है. इफ
5 करोड़ का निफ्टी 50 इंडेक्स फंड है मेरे पास।
हाँ,
अब
so
बताओ क्या
let's do
करूं।
with only index because then we don't include mid
This
cap,
is what
small
I
cap
have.
and all that.
This is what I have.
So there are nifty options. Okay, now you will have to study their pricing and see that at which level you are getting a good risk return. So it could be 20% out of money or 15% out
Again,
of
I
money.
have no idea what you are talking about.
Okay, so again, to simplify the concept, suppose today market is somewhere in the 23,000 something range to 24,000 range.
आज मार्केट 23,000 का है।
हाँ, so अगर 23,000 का है and you are saying कि up to 21,000 if things go down you are okay with it, उसको हमको कुछ नहीं करना है, वो हमारा नींद नहीं खराब कर रहा है।
अच्छा, तो
ठीक है,
10% यहाँ से डाउन जाएगा रफली, तो मेरे को कोई दिक्कत की बात
हाँ
नहीं।
हाँ, so I
ठीक
will
है,
not put money into saving the portfolio there.
डन।
Okay, but अगर 18,000 चला गया निफ्टी, then I have a problem in life.
18,000 चला गया, यानी कि अभी से तकरीबन 20-25%, 20-25% फ्रॉम नाउ, which essentially means 30% from top types.
Yes, yes.
तो
Now,
टॉप से 30% चला
हाँ,
गया,
तो
तो मेरे को दिक्कत
18,000 में मुझे आज दिक्कत है। Okay. Now, if you go and look up Nifty, say for example 21,000 PE level today, you can go to your trading app, just
What
type
level?
21,000
PE।
for March. March
PE क्या है?
पुट ऑप्शन में वो टाइप करना पड़ेगा आपको ऐप में।
हाँ, तो बताओ ना यार, वही तो हम बोल रहा हूँ कि तुम, आपको कुछ नहीं पता है, तुम बेसिक से बताओ, ये क्या क्या जाके कहाँ जीरोधा खोलूंगा, क्या
हाँ,
खोलूंगा?
जीरोधा में NIFTY
हाँ,
और फिर 21,000 और PE सर्च करेंगे,
ये सर्च करूंगा, ठीक है।
उसमें आएगा क्लोज टू 30 रुपीज का भी मिल रहा है।
ये मैं सर्च करूंगा तो ये मेरे को 30 रुपया वहां पे दिखाएगा, ये
दिखा
30 रुपया मेरे को देना है।
हाँ,
ठीक है।
अगर मार्केट और आपने फॉर एग्जांपल जस्ट फॉर आवर
हम्म,
मैथ्स
हम्म।
आपने 5,000 क्वांटिटी खरीद लिया,
तो मेरे को 21,000 से तो कुछ लेना देना नहीं है, मेरे को तो 18,000 के लिए खरीदना है
हाँ,
ना।
नहीं नहीं, आपने 5,000 खरीद लिया तो आपने कितना रुपया डाल दिया?
5,000 इंटू 30, मैंने 1.5 लाख रुपया डाल दिया।
1.5 लाख रुपया डाल दिया। अब वो सही में 18,000 चला गया।
ये तो 21,000 तक ही जा सकता था ना।
नहीं नहीं नहीं, सही में 18,000 मार्केट चला गया।
चला गया, ओके।
What you have purchased is basically your right to sell Nifty at 21,000.
ओके।
But market is at 18,000. But you have purchased the right to
Sell it.
Okay. So you will sell at 21, but market is at 18. So how much आपका प्रॉफिट कितना होगा?
5,000 इंटू 3,000,
हाँ,
विच इज 15 के बाद में 6 जीरो।
हाँ,
15 के बाद में 6 जीरो, यानी कि 15 मिलियन, यानी कि 1.5 करोड़ का मेरा प्रॉफिट
हो गया। आपका जो 5 करोड़ का पोर्टफोलियो था
हाँ।
इक्विटी में, वो 30% डाउन है।
नहीं, ज्यादा डाउन है ना भाई, अगर मैं बात कर रहा हूँ कहाँ से, तुम
नहीं,
23 से बात कर रहा है।
हाँ, अभी से आप उसी से लीजिए ना।
हाँ,
आपका पोर्टफोलियो 30% डाउन है।
हाँ,
कितना डाउन हो गया था वो?
1.5 करोड़ डाउन।
आपको ये कितना दिया?
1.5 करोड़
तो आप तो उधर ही रह गए हो ना।
हाँ, बट मेरा इसके अंदर 1.5 लाख रुपए का इस महीने का खर्चा हो गया।
इस महीने नहीं, 2 महीने का, फरवरी और मार्च, तो 75 का खर्चा हो गया।
बेसिकली तुम्हें बोलना चाह रहा है कि मैंने 1.5 लाख रुपया जो खर्चा किया है ओवर अ पीरियड ऑफ 2 मंथ्स, दैट वुड हैव प्रोटेक्टेड मी इन केस ऑफ दिस 40%.
Right, but I am also saying that this was a very simple and crude example. I had mentioned earlier something called, Kelly criteria. That is one of the methods, but there are many such frameworks available, that you don't buy everything on one day. There is a way to, buy it and sell it at certain times, because at the end हमको hedging का cost को minimize करना है. Ideally it should be, जो हम ये जो 1.5 लाख डाल रहे हैं उसको कम करना है हमको।
एक काम कर, रुक जा, मुझे लगता नहीं कि ये पॉडकास्ट होने वाला है। तुमको मेरे को बैठ के जो है ना पूरी, आई वुड रिकमेंड, तुम ले सकता है तो एक पूरी अच्छी खासी अपनी 1 घंटे की पीपीटी बना के एक तो मास्टर क्लास ले कि तुम।
नहीं, अभी हम कुछ भी नहीं बेच रहे हैं, ये अभी पर्सनल एक्सपीरियंस एंड एक्सपेरिमेंट है। मे बी वन डे आई विल सी व्हाट टू डू विद इट, मे बी राइट अ बुक और समथिंग, विल सी, बट अभी कुछ नहीं कर रहे हैं।
आई एम नॉट वेरी श्योर आई गेट दिस, बट hopefully there are some people who might be benefited from something like this. And now I think
at least one thing which maybe we can at the end tell people कि beyond that, 30% इसमें डालेंगे, 40%, 50% traditional asset allocation, there is a new concept, and maybe if you can do your research and maybe reach out to me on LinkedIn or something, we can discuss more, but there is something more than just doing what we have been, told.
Fair. मैं पकड़ता हूँ अभी तो, पहले अभी हम लोग अच्छा हाँ, हम लोग ये एपिसोड ये आज जयपुर आया हुआ था तो मेरे घर पे रिकॉर्ड कर रहे हैं, एंड अभी जाएंगे हम लोग थोड़ा खाने पीने वहां पे, मैं और समझता हूँ और मेरे को समझ में आता है तो मैं आप लोगों को भी समझाने की कोशिश करूंगा। बैकग्राउंड में घंटी वगैरह बजती रहेगी, बट Thank you, Saugata.
Yeah,
Thanks
thank you.
for
And
coming to the show and trying to help people like me with such
yeah, thank you
trivial
for having me.
questions.